What if everything you're afraid of losing was never yours to keep? What if that person you're trying to change was never meant to stay the same? What if that future you're desperately trying to control is actually smaller than what life wants to give you? You're fighting the wrong battle, and it's costing you everything. You're holding on so tight to everything, to everyone, to the way things used to be, to the way you think they should be, and your hands are cramping, your soul is exhausted, but you keep gripping harder. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that control equals safety, that holding on means you won't lose, that if you just squeeze tight enough, life will bend to your will. But here's what nobody told you. Here's what you're discovering in the most painful way possible. The tighter you hold, the more you lose. The more you control, the less you actually have. The harder you grip, the faster everything slips through your fingers, and it's destroying you from the inside out. Look at your relationships right now. Really look at them. You're managing them like projects, monitoring every text message, calculating response times, tracking emotional patterns, predicting behaviors. And you call this love. You call this care. But what you're really doing is suffocating the very connection you're trying to preserve. You hold your partner so tight they can't breathe. You need to know where they are, what they're thinking, who they're with. Not because you're evil, not because you're crazy, but because you're terrified. Terrified that the moment you let go, they'll disappear. That relaxation equals loss. That trust is just another word for being blindsided. So you grip tighter, and they pull away harder. And you interpret their pulling away as evidence that you need to hold on even more. It's a death spiral, and you're both drowning. Your children feel it too. You're not raising them, you're controlling them. Every decision monitored, every choice supervised, every path predetermined. You tell yourself you're protecting them, guiding them, loving them. But what you're really doing is teaching them that they're incapable, that the world is dangerous, that independence is betrayal. And when they inevitably rebel or collapse under the weight of your expectations, you'll wonder what went wrong. You'll blame them, you'll blame the world, you'll blame everything except the truth. That your love became a cage, that your care became control, that your protection became poison. Listen to me carefully. This pattern didn't start with your relationships. It started with you, with the fundamental misunderstanding of how life actually works. You think you're the author of your story, the director of your movie, the CEO of your existence, and that belief is creating every bit of suffering you're experiencing right now. You wake up every morning with a mental list, things that need to happen, people who need to behave a certain way, outcomes that must materialize. And when reality doesn't comply, you don't question your approach. You just push harder, force more, control tighter. Your career isn't unfolding the way you planned. So you work longer hours, network more aggressively, manipulate situations more cleverly, and you're exhausted, burned out, resentful, because you're trying to swim upstream against the current of life itself. You're arguing with reality, and reality always wins. Always. But here's what's really happening beneath all this controlling behavior. You don't trust life. At your core, in your deepest places, you believe the universe is fundamentally hostile. That if you don't force things to happen, nothing good will come to you. That relaxation equals abandonment. That letting go means giving up. This belief is running your entire existence. And it's completely, utterly, devastatingly wrong. Think about the best things that ever happened to you, the most beautiful moments, the most profound connections, the opportunities that changed everything. Did they come from your desperate grasping? Did they arrive because you controlled them into existence? Or did they show up when you were finally still enough to notice them? That job that transformed your career? You weren't even looking for it. That person who became your closest friend? You met them by accident. That solution to your biggest problem? It came when you stopped obsessing and started allowing. Life has been trying to give you gifts your entire existence, but your hands are too full of the things you refuse to release. You're like someone standing in a river of abundance with clenched fists, complaining about thirst. The water is flowing all around you, but you can't receive it because you won't open your hands. Let me tell you what happens when you continue down this path. Because the consequences aren't theoretical, they're playing out in your life right now. And if you don't shift something fundamental, they're going to get worse. Your body is keeping score. Every moment of tension, every hour of anxiety, every day of forcing and pushing and controlling. Your nervous system is in permanent overdrive. Your cortisol levels are destroying your health. Your sleep is fractured. Your digestion is compromised. Your immune system is collapsing. And you keep telling yourself you'll rest when things settle down. When you've finally gotten everything under control. When all the pieces are in place. But that day never comes. Because the more you control, the more there is to control. It's an addiction. And like all addictions, it's killing you slowly. Your mental health is deteriorating. The anxiety that used to be manageable is now constant. The depression that used to come in waves now feels like permanent fog. The sense of emptiness that you could once ignore now screams in every quiet moment. You're medicating, self-soothing, numbing. Anything to not feel the existential exhaustion of trying to play God in your own life. And your relationships, they're dying. Not with dramatic explosions, but with slow erosion. The spontaneity is gone, the joy is gone, the trust is gone. Every interaction has become transactional. Every conversation has become strategic. You're not connecting with people anymore, you're managing them. And they can feel it. Even if they can't articulate it, they can feel the manipulation, the control, the agenda beneath every word. The people you love most are becoming strangers because you're not actually seeing them. You're seeing your idea of who they should be, your plan for what they should do, your expectation of how they should behave. The real person in front of you has become invisible, replaced by your projection, your fantasy, your need. And when they fail to meet these invisible expectations, you're hurt, angry, betrayed. But you're not being betrayed by them. You're being betrayed by your own refusal to accept reality, your own unwillingness to let people be who they actually are. Here's the pattern you need to recognize. You learned this. This isn't your natural state. Somewhere in your history, you absorbed the belief that control equals survival. Maybe your childhood was chaotic. Maybe your parents were unpredictable. Maybe you experienced loss so profound that you vowed never to be vulnerable again. So you built walls, created systems, developed strategies. And these mechanisms served you. They kept you safe. They helped you survive. But what saved you then is destroying you now. The armor that protected you has become a prison. The vigilance that kept you alive is now keeping you from living. You're still running programs from a past that no longer exists, fighting battles that have already ended, protecting yourself from threats that aren't real anymore. And in the process, you're missing your actual life, the life that's happening right now, the life that's trying desperately to reach you through your defenses. Let's talk about what letting go actually means, because you've misunderstood this concept in your entire life. You think letting go means giving up, becoming passive, accepting defeat, allowing people to walk all over you. This is why you resist it so fiercely. But letting go isn't surrender. It's intelligence. It's recognizing what you can actually control and what you can't. It's understanding the difference between influence and force, between guidance and manipulation, between care and control. You can control your actions, your responses, your choices, your values, your effort, your attention. That's it. That's the list. Everything else is outside your jurisdiction. And every moment you spend trying to control what you can't is a moment stolen from actually living your life. Think about your breath right now. You're breathing, without trying, without forcing, without controlling. Your heart is beating. Your cells are regenerating. Your immune system is working, all without your conscious management. Your body knows how to be alive. It doesn't need your micromanagement. Your life is the same way. There's an intelligence moving through existence that's infinitely smarter than your ego. Call it nature, call it universe, call it whatever you want. But it's real. and it's been orchestrating reality long before you showed up with your plans and strategies. When you plant a seed, you don't stand over it demanding it grow faster. You don't dig it up every day to check on progress. You water it, give it light, then you trust the process. You let go of the outcome, you allow nature to do what nature does, and somehow, miraculously, a flower emerges. Your life works the same way. You plant seeds with your actions. You water them with your effort. You provide them with the conditions for growth. Then you let go. You trust. You allow. And life produces results far beyond what your limited human mind could orchestrate. But you don't do this. You plant the seed, then you stand over it with anxiety, worried it won't grow fast enough, comparing it to other people's gardens, digging it up to check progress, forcing growth that can't be forced. And you wonder why nothing flourishes in your life, why everything feels like struggle. Here's what happens when you finally let go. And I mean really let go. Not as a technique, not as a strategy to get what you want, but as a fundamental shift in how you relate to existence. Space opens up. Breathing room. Possibility. When you release your death grip on how things should be, you can finally see what actually is. And what actually is contains opportunities you've been blind to, solutions you couldn't see, paths you never considered, that person you've been trying to change. When you let go of the project of fixing them, you might discover who they actually are. And you might find that the real person is more interesting than your fantasy. Or you might discover you're incompatible. And that awareness, while painful, is freedom. Freedom to stop investing in something that was never going to work. That career goal you've been forcing, when you let go of the specific form, the energy you were using to push might flow into something even better, something more aligned, something that actually feeds your soul instead of just your ego. But you'll never know if you keep strangling the present with your grip on the future. Your anxiety decreases, not because your circumstances change, but because you stop arguing with them. You stop requiring reality to be different than it is before you can be okay. You develop the capacity to be present with what's happening without needing to immediately fix or change or control it. This is revolutionary. Most people spend their entire lives in time travel, lost in memories of the past, anxious about the future, never actually here, never actually now. And they wonder why life feels hollow, why nothing satisfies, why achievement brings no peace. Because peace isn't found in circumstances. It's found in presence, in acceptance, in the profound surrender to what is. But let's be clear about something. Letting go doesn't mean you become passive. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you accept abuse or mistreatment or injustice. You can be completely committed to action while simultaneously releasing attachment to outcome. You do your best. You give your all. You act with integrity. Then you release the results. You trust that you've planted good seeds, that your effort matters, that the universe will take your contribution and weave it into something beyond your comprehension. This is the paradox you need to understand. Maximum effort, minimum attachment, complete engagement with zero gripping. You care deeply while holding loosely. You love fully while controlling nothing. Your relationships transform when you operate from this place. You stop trying to make people love you differently. You stop trying to force connection. Instead, you show up authentically. You express yourself honestly. You offer your presence without agenda. Then you allow the relationship to be whatever it naturally becomes. Some relationships will deepen. Some will end. Some will transform into something completely different. And all of it is okay, because you're no longer measuring relationships against your fantasy of what they should be. You're allowing them to be what they actually are. The people who belong in your life will stay. The ones who don't will leave. And your job isn't to control this natural selection. Your job is to be authentic enough that the right people can find you and the wrong people can't stay. Think about water, how it flows, how it adapts, how it takes the shape of whatever container holds it. Water doesn't resist, it doesn't force, it doesn't grip. Yet water carves canyons, shapes mountains, sustains all life through gentleness, through persistence, through allowing. This is your model. Be like water. Flow with what is. Adapt to reality instead of demanding reality adapt to you. Trust the process of life itself and watch what emerges. But here's where most people get stuck. They understand this intellectually. They agree with the philosophy. But when it comes to actual application, they freeze. Because letting go feels like death. It feels like losing. It feels like giving up the only thing that's kept them safe. So they need a new story. A new understanding of what safety actually means. Safety isn't control. Safety is resilience. It's the capacity to adapt to whatever comes, to flow with change instead of resisting it, to trust yourself to handle whatever emerges instead of trying to prevent anything from emerging. You're stronger than you think. You've survived every challenge so far, every loss, every disappointment, every failure. You're still here, still breathing, still capable. The universe hasn't broken you yet, and it's not going to. Not if you stop fighting it and start dancing with it. What would happen if you just trusted that? What would happen if you believed, really believed that you're going to be okay regardless of what happens? That you have the resources to handle whatever comes? That life is fundamentally for you, not against you? Your entire experience would transform. The anxiety would dissolve. Because anxiety is just the belief that you can't handle what's coming, that you need to control everything to survive. When you know you can handle anything, when you trust your own resilience, what's left to be anxious about? The depression would lift. Because depression often comes from the exhaustion of trying to force life into a shape it refuses to take. When you stop fighting reality, when you start allowing, energy returns, hope returns, possibility returns. Your creativity would explode. Because creativity requires space. It requires not knowing. It requires surrender to the process. When you're controlling everything, there's no room for the new to emerge. When you let go, you become a channel for something greater than your small self. Let me give you something practical. Because philosophy without application is just intellectual entertainment. You need to practice letting go. Not as a concept, but as a daily discipline. Start small. Really small. Today, let go of controlling one conversation, just one. Enter it without agenda, without trying to steer it to a particular outcome, without managing the other person's response. Just show up and let the conversation be whatever it becomes. Notice what happens in your body. The discomfort, the urge to jump in and control, the fear that rises when you're not managing. Just notice it. Don't judge it. Don't try to change it. Just be with it. This is how you build new pathways. Through conscious awareness and gentle practice. Tomorrow, let go of controlling one outcome. Maybe it's a work project, maybe it's a family situation. Do your part. Contribute your best. Then release your grip. On the result, actively practice saying, internally, I trust this will unfold as it needs to. I release my need to force a specific outcome. It will feel terrifying at first. Your entire system will scream that this is dangerous, that you need to control. That letting go means disaster. This is just your conditioning, your programming. It's not truth. Breathe through it. Stay with it. Let the fear be there without acting on it. Over time, over weeks and months of practice, something shifts. The grip loosens. The anxiety decreases. Space opens up. And you start to notice something astonishing. Life was working all along. It didn't need your micromanagement. It was unfolding in its own perfect way. You were just too busy controlling to see it. Relationships start flowing more naturally. Opportunities appear without force. Solutions emerge without struggle. Not because you've become passive, but because you've become aligned. Aligned with the natural movement of life itself. Here's what nobody tells you about control. It's an illusion. You never had it. Not really. You had the illusion of control, the feeling of control. But actual control over other people, over outcomes, over life itself, you never had that. Nobody does. What you called control was just a very sophisticated anxiety management system. You created elaborate mechanisms to feel safe, to feel certain, to feel powerful. And these mechanisms worked just well enough to convince you they were real. But they were always smoke and mirrors. And the cost of maintaining this illusion has been enormous. Your peace, your presence, your joy, your authentic connection, your spontaneity, your wonder, your ability to simply be here, now, with what is. All sacrificed at the altar of control. Was it worth it? Is it worth it? Look at your life honestly. Has all this controlling made you happy? Has it created the security you were seeking? Or has it just created more things to control? More anxiety to manage? More exhaustion to endure? You know the answer. Deep down, beneath all your defenses and rationalizations, the control isn't working. It's never worked. It's just been a very expensive coping mechanism. And it's time to try something different. What if you woke up tomorrow and decided to trust life? Just for one day, just as an experiment. What if you moved through your day with the assumption that life is fundamentally benevolent, that it's guiding you, supporting you, offering you exactly what you need, even when it doesn't look like what you want? How would you behave differently? How would you make decisions differently? How would you relate to challenges differently? You'd probably relax a little, breathe a little deeper, react a little less, allow a little more. And here's the secret. When you do this, when you actually live from trust instead of control, life responds. Not in magical ways, not with miracles and unicorns, but with increased flow, with unexpected synchronicities, with doors opening that you didn't even know existed. Because you're finally aligned with the movement of life itself. You're swimming with the current instead of against it. You're rowing downstream instead of up. And everything becomes easier. Not because your circumstances have changed, but because you've changed. Your relationship to reality has fundamentally shifted. This is what spiritual teachers mean when they talk about surrender. Not giving up, not becoming a doormat, but releasing the exhausting project of trying to be God in your own life. Acknowledging that there's an intelligence operating that's far beyond your comprehension, and trusting it. Actually trusting it. Your ego hates this, because your ego's entire job is to maintain the illusion of control, to make you feel separate, special, in charge. And when you start letting go, the ego panics. It will throw everything at you to get you back in line. Fear, doubt, anxiety, stories about disaster, memories of past pain, all designed to get you to grab the controls again. Don't fall for it. Recognize these mechanisms for what they are. Your conditioning trying to reassert itself. Your old programming running its familiar loops. You don't have to believe these stories. You don't have to act on these fears. You can acknowledge them, thank them for trying to keep you safe, and gently let them go. Every time you do this, every time you choose trust over control, allowing over forcing, presence over anxiety, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen the new one. You're literally rewiring your brain, creating new neural pathways, teaching your system a new way of being in the world. And gradually, almost imperceptibly, life begins to feel different, lighter, more spacious, more alive. Not because your circumstances have dramatically improved, but because you're no longer in a constant war with reality. You've laid down your weapons, opened your hands, and discovered that life was never your enemy in the first place. Look around you right now, at the life you've built, the relationships you've created, the circumstances you're living. Is this what all that controlling was supposed to produce? Is this the security you were seeking? Or have you simply traded freedom for the illusion of safety? You can't control your way to happiness. You can't force your way to peace. You can't manipulate your way to authentic connection. These things only emerge when you stop trying to make them happen, when you create the conditions and then allow. When you do your part and trust life to do its part, the more you let go, the more life gives you. not as a reward, not because you've earned it, but because you've finally created space to receive it. You've finally opened your hands. You've finally stopped blocking the natural abundance that's always been flowing your way. This isn't about positive thinking. It's not about manifesting. It's not about spiritual bypassing or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about something much deeper, much more fundamental. It's about recognizing the truth of how life actually works and aligning yourself with it instead of fighting against it. You are not the author of reality. You're a participant, a co-creator, yes, but not the sole creator, not the director, not the controller. And the moment you deeply accept this, the moment you stop trying to do life's job and start doing your job, everything shifts. Your job is to show up, to be present, to act with integrity, to do your best, to learn, to grow, to love as best you can. That's it. That's the whole job description. The outcomes, the results, the way things unfold, that's life's job. And life is infinitely better at it than you are. Stop trying to play both roles. It's exhausting you. It's making you sick. It's destroying your relationships. It's stealing your peace. And it's not even working. Let life be life. Let people be people. Let reality be reality. And discover who you actually are when you're not constantly trying to force existence into submission. You might discover you're more capable than you thought, more resilient, more creative, more loving. You might discover that when you're not busy controlling, you're actually quite wise, quite intuitive, quite connected to something larger than yourself. Or you might discover you've been living someone else's life, chasing someone else's dreams, maintaining someone else's standards. And letting go might mean releasing that entire false life and discovering what you actually want, what you actually value, what actually matters to you when you're not performing for invisible judges. Either way you win, because either way you're finally living in truth instead of illusion, reality instead of fantasy, presence instead of projection. And that's where life actually happens. Not in your head, not in your plans, not in your controlled outcomes, but here, now, in this breath, this moment, this raw, unscripted, unpredictable, absolutely alive experience of being human. The more you let go, the more life gives you, because life has been trying to give you everything all along. You've just been too busy trying to control it to notice. Look at your hands right now. Actually, look at them. Are they clenched? Are your fists tight? That's how you've been living your entire life. Holding on like your survival depends on it. And maybe once it did. Maybe once that grip kept you safe. But now? Now it's just keeping you alone. You think you're protecting yourself. You think all this control is strength. But the strongest trees in the forest aren't the rigid ones. They're the ones that bend. The ones that move with the wind instead of resisting it. The ones that know when to let go of their leaves so new ones can grow. You've been so afraid of loss that you've lost everything anyway. Your peace, your joy, your ability to simply be here without constantly managing what comes. Next, you've traded your life for the illusion of safety. And the saddest part? You don't even feel safe. You just feel exhausted. Every morning you wake up and pick up that same heavy burden. The burden of trying to control everything. Everyone. Every outcome. You carry it through your day like it's your responsibility. Like the universe will collapse if you're not holding it all together. But here's what you need to hear. It won't. Life will continue. People will make their choices. Outcomes will unfold. All without your desperate management, and you'll still be okay. Better than okay. You'll finally be free. This isn't about giving up. This isn't about becoming passive or letting people walk all over you. This is about recognizing what's actually yours to control and what never was. This is about conserving your precious energy for what actually matters, for presence, for love, for being fully alive in this moment instead of constantly preparing for the next one. The truth is simple. The more you let go, the more you receive. Not because the universe rewards surrender, but because you finally create space for life to reach you. You finally stop blocking your own blessings with your clenched fists. That relationship you're strangling, let it breathe. That outcome you're forcing, release it. That future you're trying to control, trust it. Not because you're weak, but because you're finally wise enough to know the difference between what you can change and what you need to allow. Your life is happening right now. Not in some controlled future where everything finally goes according to plan. Right now, this breath, this moment, this absolutely unrepeatable instant that you're missing because you're too busy trying to manage what comes next. Let go. Not all at once. Not perfectly. But starting now. Starting small. One conversation without agenda. One outcome without attachment. One moment of pure presence without trying to control what it becomes. And watch what happens. Watch how life was working all along. Watch how abundance was always flowing. Watch how you were always safe. You just couldn't see it through your fear. The more you let go, the more life gives you. This isn't philosophy, this is truth. And you're about to discover it for yourself.